the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink.
Larry Fink is here, and of course, oversees what is now, I want to say almost about $8 trillion, give or take. There was a period which was about $10 trillion. I want to thank you for being here because you've been on this stage now a whole bunch of times.
Right.
We appreciate spending time with you. We talked to the Treasury Secretary about crypto, and as you know very well, we're going to talk later to Sam Bankman-Fried, or so we think. BlackRock had an investment in FTX.
$24 million in a fund of funds.
$24 million.
Yeah, it was in a it was not in the core part of our business.
Okay, so what do you think happened there? And then I want to talk about the diligence piece of it, because part of what's happening here is there's a lot of people questioning all of these fancy firms that everybody looks
Right.
at, Sequoia, you, others, a lot of people invested in this company. Mm-hmm. And it appears that nobody was minding the store.
Well, I think people are minding the stores. The question is, we're going to have to wait and see and how this all plays out. I mean, right now we can make all the judgment calls that it looks like there were some misbehaviors of major consequences. I assume, if you look at the Sequoias of the world, they've had unbelievable returns over a long period of time. I am sure they did the due diligence. Could they have been misled? Could they have done other things? Could we have been misled in the small little investments we did? Sure, but until we have more facts, I'm not going to speculate.
Is it fair, though, to think about venture capitalists as self-regulators, if you will, of these types of companies? And the reason, and look, there's, you can look at Theranos, and you can look at all sorts of companies, and we don't know what this situation is in front of us right now. But it seems to me that in the venture world, the whole business model is actually not to due diligence. The entire business model is, out of 50 investments, 40 are going to fail, and we know that in advance, so the cost of actually diligencing this all out to perfection may not even be necessary, because what we're really doing is hoping that we hit just a couple of Grand Slam home runs, and that's just fine.
And that worked. It probably is not going to work in the future, because I don't believe we need another food delivery company. I don't believe we need where all this money was going to go. I actually believe where more and more venture capital money is going to be going, and more early investment is going to be fundamentally in decarbonization. It's going to be a different science. It's going to require really underwriting the science behind these entrepreneurs. I'm visiting young entrepreneurs who are trying to do, whether it's sequestration or a better way of improving farming. By encoding seeds that already have the ability to create their own fertilizer, to reduce fertilizer. There are some amazing technologies that are being developed today. So I actually believe we're going to be seeing a transformation of where this money is going to go. It's not going to go to all this stuff that maybe provided us good utility to get food quicker, or find a taxi sooner. But I actually believe it's going to be much more in hard science, and it's going to require a lot more technical understanding.
Has this changed your view of crypto at all? You now have a deal with Coinbase, and yet you were always sort of also, I think, a bit of a skeptic of all of this.
Oh, I actually believe most of the companies are not going to be around. I still believe that. I do believe
because they're now real, they're frauds, they're what?
Well, I mean, think about FTX. I mean, you could look back now. FTX created it. Its failure was it's creating its own token. It was not a DeFi. It wasn't a ledger that was open to the world. It was a closed ledger.
Right.
It was not distributed. So the whole foundation of what crypto is, it's supposed to be a distributed ledger that is across the system. I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem. You don't need trust banks.
But does that disrupt you eventually? Because you are custodying all of these assets.
No, we're not a custodian. We're not, we use third-party custodians in everything we do.
In everything you do?
We're not a custodian bank.
So your goal, by the way, I don't think that he was technically a custodian either, which is a separate issue.
I think they were. I don't know if there was a real custodian in that closed ledger, but that's a whole other story. You should ask him that question. No, I mean, the transformation, think about it, instantaneous settlement, bonds and stocks. No middlemen. We're going to bring down fees even more dramatically. As for me, I don't have to vote on any shares anymore because the beneficial owner will do all the voting. They'll have it.
And that's where I want to go with this conversation.
Okay, I knew I was going to take you there.
Thank you.